We are here to talk a little bit about the First Amendment, which ultimately is a part of the Constitution that was conceived along with the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights consists of the first 10 amendments in the Constitution. There are several rights guaranteed by the First Amendment, which are part of our very basic human rights. When asked to name the 5 specific freedoms in the First Amendment, only 68% of Americans that were surveyed were able to name the freedom of speech. 29% knew the freedom of religion, 14% were able to mention the freedom of press, 7% mentioned the right to assemble, and only 1% of people surveyed were able to name the right to petition. Out of all of those that were surveyed, 29% of those could not name any of the rights guaranteed by the First Amendment.
What we're going to focus on today is the freedom of religion and the freedom of speech, so we've got a really entertaining cartoon. The freedom of religion, the First Amendment prevents the government from establishing an official religion of the country. So we can't just put our foot down and say, everyone in here is going to be Catholic. You don't love that, right? All right. So they also, they give you the right to attend whatever you would like. So a church, a synagogue, a temple, or any house of worship. They also allow you to choose to not be involved in anything. So because of the First Amendment, we can practice our religion however we want to. And with freedom of speech, the government can't stop us from making, it stops the government from making any laws that may stop us from saying what we feel or what we think, our opinions. And there are some fine lines there, but we're just gonna hover over those a little bit. You know, if you really want to get into it, Andrea's Legal and Ethics, shameless plug. Help you out there. The American people have the right to share their opinions with other people and criticize the government.
Okay, so now I need you all to stand up, and you're going to place your right hand over your heart, and we're going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance if you remember that, which you should because you all probably did it in school. Okay, ready? I'll lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, see, that was me. Anyway, there's actually a reason why we had you do that. We're not just doing that because we're weird, although we are weird, but you'll see that later.
The first case that we are going to look at is Minersville v. Gobitis. Lillian and William Gobitis, 2 Jehovah's Witnesses, were expelled from public schools of Minersville, Pennsylvania for refusing to salute the flag as a part of a daily school exercise. They believed that such a gesture of respect for the flag was forbidden by biblical commands.
The question of the court then came to be whether or not the mandatory flag salute set by the Minersville school infringed upon the freedom of religion as guaranteed by the First Amendment. The court ruled 8-1 in favor of the school district, which means that the Jehovah's Witnesses were still forced to salute the flag or risk being expelled. Justice Felix Frankfurter wrote for the opinion or majority vote. He focused his opinion on the fact that the court needs to restore liberty and authority, that the flag is a symbol of national unity, and that national unity equals security.
Justice Harlan Stone, who is the only one who did not vote with the majority, wrote the dissent, or the opposing argument. He argued that making these students salute the flag was breaking civil liberties or infringing on the freedom of religion. Simply put, the citizens' right to practice their religion is less destructive than national unity enforced by mandatory flag salutes.
This ruling led to several attacks on Jehovah's Witnesses throughout the entire country, including mobs burning down the meeting places of the Jehovah's Witnesses, abuse, and hazing. They were considered un-American, which caused riots, and people thought that the ruling granted them permission to attack the Jehovah's Witnesses because they wouldn't conform and salute the flag.
3 years later, the problem still was not solved, which leads us to the next case, West Virginia v. Barnette. In a 6-3 ruling, the court overruled its decision in Minersville School District v. Gobitis and decided that forcing public school children to salute the flag was unconstitutional. The court found that such a salute was a form of utterance and was a means of communicating ideas. It was at this point the flag salute became an issue surrounding freedom of speech rather than freedom of religion.
In this case, the majority opinion was written by Justice Jackson, who stated that the Supreme Court screwed up 3 years prior because of their ruling, which caused America to begin attacking the Jehovah's Witnesses because of their religion. Jackson also claimed that if we make people think a certain way or do things a certain way, that is more disastrous to our nation than having the freedom to choose.
While Jackson makes good points that stick with us to this day, we shouldn't disregard what Felix Frankfurter said in the Gobitis case and what he reiterated in the dissent in the Barnette case. He stuck to this being a freedom of religion issue, and while we have the freedom of religious belief, you can't always use religion as an excuse to do whatever you want.
Supreme Rap Battles of Justices! Felix Frankfurter versus Harlan Stone! Begin!
I am Felix Frankfurter. I deliver the opinions. You're just so you don't have 7 other minions. I speak for America, for the USA. I read the Constitution in the Founding Father way.
My name is Harlan. I delivered the dissent, but the 80 you forgot about the First Amendment. You all doubted me, but I can make a bet. You'll take my side in the West Virginia versus Barnette.
The American flag, it's all about unity. All I wanted was a happy community.
In that 8-1 ruling, you thought you were great. Now the kids of your schooling are the subject of hate. You call the First Amendment where you protect civil liberties. You can't even save a resident from harmful injuries.
Order, order, order in the court. It seems to me your ruling fell a little short. Freedom of religion is the problem I see. I'm beginning to think you're a justice wannabe.
Oh, you sad little boy, are you filled with grief? Get off your fucking horse, cause I'm the fucking chief.
Don't even bring up chief. Now everyone is in religious disbelief. You know I'm right, so just take my side. It's about speech, religion, or somebody's pride.
Who won? Who's next? You decide! Supreme Rap Battles of Justices!
Hopefully, it helps you remember. And I get to start.
Yep.
Whew. I am Felix Frankfurter. I deliver the opinions. You're just sorry you don't have 7 other minions. I speak for America, for the USA. I read the Constitution in a Founding Father way.
So Felix Frankfurter is the one that we talked about who delivered the opinion in the Minersville versus Gobitis case. The line, you're just sorry you don't have 7 other minions, is referencing the fact that there were 7 other justices that were on his side and agreed with him, and there was the Lone Ranger, which was Harlan Stone. And that ended up being the 8-1 ruling in that case. My name is Harlan. I delivered the dissent, but the 8 of you forgot about the First Amendment. You all doubted me, but I can make a bet you'll take my side in the West Virginia versus Barnette.
Obviously, Harlan Stone, everyone. And he did deliver the dissent in the Minersville versus Gobitis, as we mentioned earlier. He was the only justice who had the opposing argument, and he felt that this was a speech issue rather than a religion issue. But he reassures them that the argument that he makes will win in the West Virginia versus Barnette. The American flag is all about unity. All I wanted was a happy community.
So this goes back to the Gobitis case, where the majority thought that if people didn't salute the flag, we would lose that national unity, which would ultimately diminish national security. They thought that if everyone would just salute the flag, then there would be no troubles, and it was kind of a swallow your pride sort of instance. In that 8-1 ruling, you thought you were great. Now the kids you're schooling are the subject of hate. It's called the First Amendment, where you protect civil liberties. You can't even save a resident from harmful injuries.
Obviously. His rebuttal was that, and that refers back to the Gobitis case, where the mobs and riots on the Jehovah's Witnesses. So he's referencing to that about protecting them from injuries. Because the court decided to go with Frankfurter's opinion, many Americans took that as a permission to attack them, like he had mentioned earlier. And so that was considered un-American. Order, order, order in the court. It seems to me your ruling fell a little short. Freedom of religion is the problem I see. I'm beginning to think you're a justice wannabe.
So this is mostly a bashing section. If any of you watch the epic rap battles, you know that we kind of sort of gotta go at each other in order for this to be a battle of any sort. But freedom of religion is the problem I see is one of the lines that Felix Frankfurter here says, and which refers to the fact that Frankfurter always thought that the issue was about religion rather than speech, which is what Harlan Stone thought when it came to the West Virginia versus Barnette case, and ultimately that is what became a deciding factor in the West Virginia versus Barnette case. Oh, you sad little boy, are you filled with grief? Get off your horse, because I'm the chief.
We don't have to because of our freedom of speech, right? Once again, mostly bashing, because that's what epic rap battles do. But he is saying here that he is the Chief of Justice now. this is also a reminder that this is now a speech issue. You can't just force people to say whatever you want. He's rubbing it in that he's now right on the court side. The court is on his side now. And the government can't make you say can't make you say anything that you don't want to. Don't even bring up chief. Now everyone is in religious disbelief. You know I'm right, so just take my side about speech, religion, or somebody's pride.
So this goes back to the fact that chief kind of has no effect on the ruling of the case. Even though this may go as a speech issue, we can't just disregard that religious component because we can't always use religion as an excuse to do or not do whatever we want to do. But in case you missed it the first time, and in our little explanation, we'll say it again for you one more time.
Supreme Rap Battles of Justices! Felix Frankfurter versus Harlan Stone! Begin!
I am Felix Frankfurter. I deliver the opinions. You're just so I don't have 7 other minions. I speak for America for the USA. I read the Constitution in the Founding Father way.
My name is Harlan. I delivered the dissent, but the idiot forgot about the First Amendment. You all doubted me, but I can make a bet. You'll take my side in the West Virginia versus Barnette.
The American flag, it's all about unity. All I wanted was a happy community.
In the 8-1 ruling, you thought you were great. Now the kids of your schooling are the subject of hate. You call the First Amendment where you protect civil liberties. You can't even save a resident from harmful injuries.
Order in the court. It seems to me your ruling fell a little short. Freedom of religion is the problem I see. I'm beginning to think you're a justice wannabe.
Oh, you sad little boy, are you filled with grief? Get off your horse, cause I'm the fucking chief.
Don't even bring up chief. Now everyone is in religious disbelief. You know I'm right, so just take my side. It's about speech, religion, or somebody's pride.
Who won? Who's next? You decide! Supreme Rap Battles of Justices!
So this may be just one instance of a religion and speech issue, but they're definitely intertwined. But this only covers maybe less than 1% of everything there is to know about the First Amendment and your rights as a U.S. citizen. So we encourage you all to take part in the other First Amendment week events going on this week to learn more about the First Amendment and better educate yourself so you know your rights as United States citizens. And maybe legal and ethical perspective should be a class you consider taking if you haven't already.
You've got the first cases down.
Yeah.